This is a baby. This is a 10-year-old. This is a newborn city. And now, this is a 10-year-old. It's been said that once you master time, you can understand why most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. The year was 2001. George W. Bush was sworn in as the 43rd President of the United States. In California, state regulators approved raising electric rates an average of 10% as state utilities stood near bankruptcy. And the severe energy crisis produced rolling blackouts, prompting then-Governor Gray Davis to declare a state of emergency. In Hollywood, A Beautiful Mind was voted Best Picture by the Academy Awards. Baltimore defeated the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. The LA Lakers won the NBA championship for a second year in a row by defeating the Philadelphia 76ers. The nation's unemployment rate was at 4.8%, and a postage stamp cost 34 cents. In Orange County, a 22-year-old planned community became the City of Aliso Viejo. It was the 34th incorporated city of the county and the only one created so far in the 21st century. July 1st. Citizens and dignitaries alike gathered at Grand Park to witness and celebrate the inauguration of Aliso Viejo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to see that you're all here today. We're all indeed very proud to be here to witness what I will call a very, very historic event.
Original council members Carmen Cave, Greg Fickey, Bill Phillips, and former Chief of Police Rich Paddock all have special memories of that day.
We had a very hot July day.
It was a fantastic day. It was a warm, sunny day, very warm actually.
I just remember it was extremely hot.
It was a hot day.
We had our first police cars out over there in the plaza with the city seal and the city name on it.
And we had some bright white tents.
And I was in a navy blue suit, and I was wringing wet underneath of that and extremely, extremely nervous.
Everybody that started that day was brand new.
We had a fire truck that said proudly serving the citizens of Aliso Viejo. It wasn't a new fire truck, but it was new because it had our name on it.
The inauguration was exciting. That's where I started meeting people in the community. It was just a real special time for me.
It was sort of like the birth of a child or your graduation day where you had worked hard diligently to get to a certain point, and now you were going to reap the rewards of that, and we were going to become a city and be able to have our own self-determination.
It was a day that you just don't forget.
Minutes after the swearing-in ceremony, the new council, which also included Carl Warkomski and Cynthia Pickett, sat down to conduct its first council meeting.
We must have adopted hundreds of ordinances and regulations, things that would allow us to collect money and spend money and appoint our city staff members, and actually that's where I got to be chosen from my colleagues as the first mayor of the city. So for me, it was an especially proud moment.
On a nearby hillside, the brand new Soka University of America was welcoming its first 120 undergraduate students from 18 different countries. Founded on the Buddhist principles of peace, human rights, and the sanctity of life, this beautiful liberal arts college and graduate school had its own inauguration just 2 short months before Aliso Viejo.
I'm very proud because the Aliso Viejo City of Aliso Viejo was incorporated 2001, July 1st. Then we dedicate this campus 2001, May 3rd. So in a way, we are born together, the same time, same year. Then from beginning of the birth, both of us working together and helping each other.
And so, at the beginning of the decade, an institution of higher learning is born, and it brings to what will become the new city a cultural and educational dimension that will set Aliso Viejo apart in the years to come. In just a few short weeks, things would change dramatically in our nation and in the world. Citizens of Aliso Viejo would share the shock and pain that would mark the day and event now simply known as 9/11.
Being from New York City myself, I woke up that morning and I'm watching that on the news occur. And to see the Twin Towers falling, and you have to remember, I went to school in Manhattan in those trains every day, all during high school. So that was very difficult for me to make sure that my parents were okay.
I remember just viewing over and over again the events on television.
You reflect back on the Pledge of Allegiance that you say at the beginning of every meeting that school kids still do every morning when they start the day. But the words took on a different meaning because we were under siege.
I remember at my elementary school there's a boy from Afghanistan and many kids were hateful towards him and he eventually moved back.
I knew that the world would change based upon that. It was a first huge attack on America. It was an attack upon our values and our morals and our very democracy.
We did a flag retirement ceremony for our city, and I'm going to start to cry. And at one of the early meetings we got a flag presented to us for our first city American flag to fly over wherever City Hall was going to be. On September 11th, we folded that flag up and retired it. And now we never would be able to use it again. That was a moment where you really, and it's so silly, but it still was very impactful and emotional.
In 2002, much of the news was dominated by fears of more terrorist attacks. A new phrase was born: Homeland Security. Travel procedures changed dramatically. Business and finance also grabbed headlines when federal regulators released documents showing that Enron had manipulated the power market in California to increase its profits. On the other hand, in nearby Anaheim, the Angels defeated the San Francisco Giants to win the World Series. Of course, much of the credit went to the rally monkey. In the early weeks and months of life for the new city of Aliso Viejo, the emphasis was on doing all the things that make a city work. But larger issues like the fight over the proposed airport at El Toro, the cleanup of Aliso Creek, and the discussion of a new community center at Aliso Ranch found their place on the City Council's agenda. In the business community, Cigar Oasis was the first to seek and receive a business permit after the city was official. By 2003, when Cynthia Pickett Adams took the helm as the second mayor of Aliso Viejo, the focus was on expanding and developing the city and the business centers. Dave Norman was selected as the new city manager following Bill Woolett's term as interim manager. The Family Resource Center at Iglesia Park transitioned from a county operation to a city-managed facility. And one of the city's main thoroughfares, Laguna Hills Drive, had its name changed to Aliso Viejo Parkway to reflect the new city. The Aliso Viejo Commons was taking on a new look. Where once stood a Super Kmart, a new Lowe's was built, eventually followed by a Trader Joe's, a Walgreens, and various other retail stores and restaurants. 2003 was also a significant year in our nation and in our state. The United States and Britain launched a war against Iraq. By April, Baghdad fell to U.S. troops, and in May, President Bush declared mission accomplished and said the combat operations would end soon. Here in California, Governor Gray Davis was ousted from office in an October recall election, and actor-turned-politician Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected the new governor of the Golden State. Meanwhile, back in Aliso Viejo, a continuing problem, according to leaders and citizens, was the simple lack of meeting space. Even early council meetings had to be held at the Sheriff's Department until council chambers were completed. Councilman Bill Phillips recalls how the lack of space was the impetus for the construction of the new conference center.
Every project we were going after, we were asking for meeting space. And somebody pulled me aside one day and said, do you realize if you get everything accomplished, you'll have 5 big meeting areas? And I said, I'll be happy if I get 1 or 2 of them. And in retrospect, I was happy that we basically got the big conference center out on the golf course accomplished.
By 2004, Councilman Phillips had been selected as the 3rd mayor of Aliso Viejo. An architect by profession, Phillips attributes much of the success of the city's layout to the original planners of the Mission Viejo Company. But he points out that in addition to a successful hard infrastructure plan, it also takes a soft infrastructure to reach a successful balance in a community. He explains what that might look like.
Soft infrastructure is all what I refer to as the feel-good stuff. And last night, the association was putting on a movie night, and that's a perfect example of what I refer to as that soft infrastructure. Programs to get people together and kind of in the public spaces and bring people out of their houses and out of their office buildings so that they interact.
In addition to movie nights, the city provides citizens of all ages with a variety of activities and events that add to the full and active lifestyle of Aliso Viejo. How about sledding in Grand Park? Or just playing on a snowy mound? Perhaps a roll in the grass? A day at the ranch means a step into the past for Founders Day, with lots of good food and games. The preschool set enjoys rocking and rolling during a hullabaloo concert at the amphitheater, sponsored by the Aliso Viejo Community Association. Would-be Olympians and folks just out for fun can enjoy the beautiful ice rink at the Ice Palace. Whether it's a round of golf, a workout at the sports club, or a dip in the pool, there's something for everyone. At the midpoint of the decade in 2005, longtime environmentalist Karl Warkomski was selected as the new mayor. An advocate for a clean earth and a green lifestyle, it was not unusual for him to show up at council meetings with trash bags full of debris that he had collected from Aliso Creek or Wood Canyon in an effort to show the hazards and the reality of pollution. This kind of education and sensitivity to environmental issues eventually helped lead the city to adopt a comprehensive Green City initiative to promote sustainability. A strong supporter of the initiative is AVCA President Ross Chun.
It's a great way to engage the community, to inform them and to educate them on the importance of sustainability. And it's also given the city staff an opportunity to really reach out on a one-on-one basis and talk with residents and business owners, explain some of the benefits of sustainable and green practices.
A new phenomenon emerged in the second half of the decade: social networking. This new era of communications technology produced such state-of-the-art tools as iPods, iPads, e-readers, and cell phones with cameras. It also created a new vocabulary and changed our style of communication. These developments have made the world a much smaller place and taken communicating with one another to a whole new level. Changes of another nature were taking place in Aliso Viejo. A new look was emerging and new faces were assuming leadership roles. Mark Pallone came on as the city's 3rd city manager. Don Garcia and Phil Sunoda were appointed to the city council with the departure of Karl Warkomski and Cynthia Pickett Adams. Across town, a new look for Aliso Viejo was taking shape. The new 9-story Pacific Life building was complete, whales and all. A nearby aquatic center opened, without whales, and the Renaissance Hotel and Health Club was fast becoming a favorite spot for citizens and visitors alike. Walkability became a priority in further city planning. City engineer John Whitman described what the eventual configuration would look like when he was featured in then-Mayor Don Garcia's 2009 State of the City film.
The council has created a system of trails. There are 4 trails that go all the way around the city, 16 miles of trail. This is the first concrete on the ground. This is the Town Center Loop Trail. It's about 6 kilometers and it runs around the downtown, and it'll have these markers and it'll have beautiful little pocket parks, and it'll be a wonderful amenity for the citizens of Aliso Viejo.
Well, I tell you, you did get me excited. Why don't we see where this goes to?
Okay, after you.
No, after you, John.
No, after you.
Oh, no, we just go together.
Okay.
Aliso Viejo is a community that embraces its youth. Top-notch schools and strong social and recreational after-school and weekend programs thrive. School leaders believe community partnerships are at the core of much of this success.
Our school was the first school in Aliso Viejo, and the partnerships that we have with our some of our community stores and businesses that help support our schools has been amazing, and we've relied on that a lot. I know all the schools have.
Charles Salter, former principal of Aliso Niguel High School, adds his perspective to the key for student success in Aliso Viejo.
There has got to be a triumvirate and a community focus on the education of our children. So the triumvirate is the child has their accountability piece, the school has its accountability piece, and the parent has their accountability piece. And if everyone is working together to ensure that the kid's education is where it needs to be, then we're going to have a successful school and we're going to have happy and successful children.
In addition to stellar education programs, Aliso Viejo's youth programs, such as the Boys and Girls Club at Iglesia Park, provide kids with year-round activities. When Councilman Phil Sunoda became mayor, he made the theme of his term the Year of the Youth. He tells why.
Well, you know, for the last 10 years in the city, my council predecessors have done such a great job with the infrastructure, the financial stability, the safe community. And I just felt it was time to put a greater emphasis on our youth.
Aliso Viejo prides itself on its diversity. Councilman Sunoda explains how that pride begins with the young.
Like here at the Boys and Girls Club, what I find out there's a great diversity of kids here. And what I try and teach and what I try and promote is tolerance, is an understanding of all these different attributes and different viewpoints. And I think that kind of gives a level of comfort to a lot of people that different people, different ages, different genders can all come together and still be one solid community.
Political diversity was evident in 2008 when Barack Obama was elected the first African-American president of the United States.
Aliso Viejo was not part of the partisan stronghold of Orange County because this community turned out and voted for Obama, which was not expected. So again, I think it goes back to this community is very diverse.
As you talk to people around town, a recurring theme emerges in Aliso Viejo. This community is like a family.
I view our city as a reflection of Mayberry RFD. We are 7 square miles, 45,000 people. We all go to the same locations. We all eat the same restaurants. We go to the same movies. Cars repair at the same place. Very family-oriented community.
In that spirit of family, Aliso Viejo has opened its heart to a project of love and the legacy of a young girl. In the Bible, a short phrase in the book of Isaiah says, "And a little child shall lead them." In Aliso Viejo, a little child has led the community to adopt her dream of providing better food, better nutrition, and better health education for children everywhere. Savannah Lee Sachin was 5 years old when she was diagnosed with a rare form of pediatric cancer. Upon learning of the diagnosis, Joe and Lisa Sachin, Savannah's parents, set out to find why a cancerous mass would attack their little girl's heart. Lisa, a vegetarian who was raising their children as vegetarians, had yet to include organics in their diet.
We didn't know a lot about organics and were probably intimidated by the fact that there was an extra cost available. And of course, we don't have any solid proof that pesticides are what caused Savannah's cancer, but there was no genetic factors involved, and she was a very healthy child. So I have to look at the environment.
In 2007, after a 3-year fight, Savannah lost her battle. But not before laying out her dream for an organic ranch where kids could learn about eating healthy foods and making healthy choices for their lives.
She asked me one day, "Mommy, how come they never advertise healthy food on TV?" And I tried to explain, why that was. That was when the light bulb, the aha moment, went off for Savannah. And she said, "Mommy, I'm going to be an organic farmer when I grow up, and I'm going to teach kids that they can eat really healthy and that it can be fun and it can be yummy too." And so that was when her dream began.
The Sachins created a foundation, Savannah's Organic Ranch, and have helped build Savannah's gardens at several area schools.
So this ranch and the whole foundation is built on helping others. And it was our intent to at least have a foundation in her memory to get things going to help other kids, because we had already lost Savannah, but it was not too late to help other kids that are going through cancer and families that are going through cancer. So that's why Savannah's Ranch, the foundation, was built.
But all along, the dream was to find a beautiful piece of land to build that ranch that Savannah so wanted. In 2011, the dream became a reality, and Savannah's Organic Ranch has found a home just off Wood Canyon in Aliso Viejo. Joe talked about the plans for the beautiful 27 acres.
You would see community gardens going on, getting food that is grown without pesticides or chemicals, so kids can eat it right off the vine and not have to worry. Flowers and trees grown so people can pick them naturally, and they understand where carrots are grown, where apples are grown, because they're going to see them on the tree itself. There's also a learning center that we're putting in so they can have cooking classes. People can come here, get together, learn how to cook food. We have a farmer's market that we want to put in so the whole community can come together to get food at a much lower price. A dream is like an idea. She started it, and we're here to finish it.
Despite its many unique assets, Aliso Viejo, like any city across the nation, has its share of troubles. City Manager Mark Pallone says one particular complaint seems to be on everyone's mind.
Traffic is typically the biggest issue with people. Either cars going too fast, too much traffic, parking is always big, and so we try our best to address those issues.
On a more serious note, former Chief of Police Rich Paddock described some of the problems during the decade.
Well, the wolf has come to town several times in Aliso Viejo through the years. We've had incredibly violent traffic collisions. We've had deaths, violent deaths at the hand of another. And I grieved with those families.
Recent statistics show that crimes against both persons and property in Aliso Viejo have decreased somewhat in 2011. Since 2009, Lieutenant Robert Osborne has served as Chief of Police Services in the city, replacing Chief Paddock, who retired. But what was the biggest challenge of the decade?
The fight against the United States Postal Service site on Liberty was the biggest challenge.
They were going to build a huge junk mail processing facility that would run basically 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, taking tractor-trailer rigs right down the center of town with no obligation to reimburse the city in any way for the street damage or basically they don't have to abide by many of the rules that our city has set forth.
Although the facility that they wanted to build made absolutely no sense, they were determined to make sure it happened. And even when the economy tanked and there was no need for the facility, they kept moving forward.
It was a pretty horrific outlook for the residents. In fact, I think we would have lost a lot of residents had that happened.
Fortunately, the council stepped up and the residents stepped up, and I think they eventually had a huge impact in being able to fight off the project.
With the economic downturn that began in early 2008, Aliso Viejo found itself with citizens facing job losses, home foreclosures, and several businesses shutting their doors.
Whether it's a depression or recession, really, I'm not sure that the description of the definition makes a whole lot of difference. A lot of people are hurting.
I mean, I've had students come into my office crying because the house that they've grown up in all their lives, they're going to lose. I've had kids who've cried in my office because they have to move because their families can no longer afford to stay here. Their parents have lost their jobs. And it has a tremendous toll on our students.
There's not one day that goes by that we don't come in contact with something that has to do with the economic piece of what's happened.
Aliso Viejo's unemployment rate doubled between 2001 and 2011, but it remains under 5%. Statistics show the rest of the nation has not fared as well. Despite the overall bad news, in 2009, Forbes ranked Aliso Viejo number 16 in their top 25 places to live well. By 2011, at the end of the decade, in one weekend alone, millions watched as the future King of England was married. A popular 20th century pope was beatified, and as the President of the United States made the announcement many in the world had been waiting 10 years to hear.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
Many Americans took to the streets in response to the news. By July, everything was in place to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Aliso Viejo. Celebrations covered the anniversary weekend. Friday evening opened with a Polynesian luau at the ballroom of the conference center. There, citizens and dignitaries celebrated the first decade of cityhood. By Saturday afternoon, the fun moved to the Aquatic Center, where families partied and shared birthday cake. Among the guests were twins who share a birthday with the city.
Hi, my name is Scott Ogow, and I am 10 years old.
Hi, I'm Alex Ogar, and I am also 10 years old.
I believe we were the first kids to be born into an Aliso Viejo family here.
Is that special for you?
Yes, very special.
On July 4th, 1,000 or more gathered at Grand Park, as they have in years past. But this year, everyone was happy to talk about their city and the blessings of freedom and democracy.
I think it's wonderful. I love the city of Aliso Viejo. I used to work for professional community management, so Aliso Viejo, I've seen it grow from small city to big.
You know, I've been out to Europe a few weeks here and there, and I couldn't wait to get back.
People here is like a family. We are all very nice, and we have time to say hi.
It's a wonderful place. We brag a lot. We've probably brought about 10 families here into town in the last 10 years, so we're averaging about a family a year that we bring into town.
So I've been in Illinois, in Florida, in Washington, and now in California. And no matter what, I mean, all of those states have their own challenges, but in spite of all of that, I think there's a lot of promise.
We're still the melting pot of the world, and we still want to show that even though we've suffered through 9/11 and all of the aftermath, that, we're still going to be the shining light of the world.
When celebrating the life of a nation and a city, it seems only fitting to reflect and celebrate the lives of accomplishment lost to us during the decade. What now of the future? Despite the ups and downs of the world and the nation, hope prevails in Aliso Viejo. A significant aspect of this is found in the Medical Research and Technological Development Corporations headquartered here. Companies such as Ambry Genetics, a diagnostic group focused on the gene that causes cystic fibrosis, and Clarient, a GE Health Services partner that is fast becoming one of the world's leaders in cancer diagnostic technology, are both providing a future of hope for patients and healthcare providers. At Clarient, significant strides are being made in the field of oncology, according to Clarient's CEO, Ronnie Andrews.
We hope to make cancer chronic. That's our goal, is to transition it from a deadly disease today to a chronic disease. So I think earlier identification of cancer, the combination of the new therapies, there's over 400 drugs in phase 2 and 3 trials that are targeted at these highway systems that will be coming into the market in the next 5 to 10 years. We've got so much promise. The next 5 to 10 years will dwarf the last 50 years in cancer.
Andrews also says that the relationship between Clarient and Aliso Viejo has been quite successful.
Aliso Viejo for us as a company was a great place to start Clariant because we found a beautiful facility and a beautiful technology park. The city has been extremely supportive for us through the years. And when we were just a nothing company with an idea, they were very supportive in those humble days. And they continue to be supportive. And now as we employ 470 people. And now when GE acquired us, basically they kept the management team intact, kept the vision intact. And their real vision now is to build the worldwide headquarters for Molecular Diagnostics Division, which Clariant was the first acquisition for here in Southern California and hopefully here in Aliso Viejo.
Reflections on any decade lead to aspirations for the coming years. Milestones mark events, books preserve history, and hopes and visions flourish. What are some of the hopes and dreams for an Aliso Viejo of the future?
We have some amazing kids that'll be the leaders then. And I expect it'll be what we think right now is paradise. I suspect it'll be even more so then.
We're going to be attracting the most talented people, which is going to just drive us to be doing the most innovative things.
I hope we don't lose sight of where we came from and where we're going.
And I would hope that we as a people never lose sight of the fact that what we have is special.
I would like to see a real strong sense of community. I would like to see a beautiful community, a well-maintained community, a successful community.
Well, first and foremost, I hope that I'd see people thriving and living in peace. And I hope that no matter what the future holds, Aliso Viejo will always be thought of as that city on the hillside that sustains the ages.